JDev is back at it here to give everyone another Cubs report as well as some Major League Baseball news that I found out about yesterday. So I was on YouTube, and then on my YouTube feed, I got a video that showed up. Now, typically I get videos from Giraffe Neck Mark, who's really good at covering Major League Baseball. But this particular one was from Fuzzy, who I don't watch him a lot. I have watched him before, and I decided to check it out because the headline of the video made me kind of curious. And in this video, there's a baseball writer that had his first opportunity to vote for the Hall of Fame. And, you could vote for 10 people, and he chose to vote for nobody. Out of all the players on that ballot, he chose to vote for absolutely nobody because he wanted to save the integrity of the game, because some of these players have character issues off the field. Okay. And this is something that MLB Network's John Heyman agrees with. So, you have a choice. Let me rephrase that. So you have the opportunity to vote for the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame for the first time, and you choose nobody? Since when does a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer have to be a great ambassador of the game and a good character of the game off the field? You would prefer them to be, but you think there are guys that are in the Hall of Fame, all the guys that are in the Hall of Fame are good characters? I'm telling you, Ty Cobb, there's a story about Ty Cobb. He's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, there are some good players. There are some elite players on this year's Hall of Fame. Well, they've been on the Hall of Fame list for a long time, and I'm really upset about this. And so was Fuzzy. It is not in the rules that you have to be a good citizen outside of Major League Baseball. Should it be? Maybe. But people have been elected to the Hall of Fame before, but that weren't the best characters. So I'm going to give my list of the 10 people that I would vote for based on who's on the Hall of Fame ballot this year. Let's start the list off by saying Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Hands down, hit king of baseball. Bet on baseball, whoop-de-doo, who cares? Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not on the list anymore. He has to be voted in by the Veterans Committee. He will be someday, I'm pretty sure of it. So, Barry Bonds. Right off the bat, Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. I don't care about steroids. Bud Selig was the president of Major League Baseball back in the 98 season, and there was no testing then. Did Barry Bonds take steroids? It's not proven. Probably. But it wasn't. It was kind of one of those things that was frowned upon, but it wasn't something that was like in the rules that they were tested for. So I think he's the all-time home run king. He got walks, he got stolen bases. Didn't win a World Series. That's unfortunate for Barry Bonds, but Barry Bonds is one of the elite players in baseball history. If you have an outfield of players, Barry Bonds is probably your left fielder. I mean, okay, let's look at what he did before he went to the Giants. He was with the Pirates for 7-8 years, and he was a pretty good player then. And, steroids, a lot of players were doing them. I bet over 50% of the Major League Baseball players were doing steroids. Now, they didn't get caught. And I'm not saying this guy did them or not, but let's take Cal Ripken Jr., for example. Cal Ripken Jr. played in over 2,000 whatever games. I don't remember what the exact number is now. But he played in consecutive games for that much time. Granted, there were some games where he might have came in as a pinch hitter or something like that, or pinch runner. But you think Cal Ripken didn't do anything to continue playing? I don't know if he did or not, but I'm just saying the odds for something like that to happen during that time period are pretty high in my opinion. So Barry Bonds, Hall of Famer. Roger Clemens, another surefire Hall of Famer. That's their last year on the ballot, Clemens and Bonds. They need to get in the Hall of Fame. They are Hall of Famers. Roger Clemens was dominant for his years with the Red Sox. He was dominant. And then he went to the Blue Jays, then he went to the Yankees, and then eventually ended up with the Astros at one point. Roger Clemens is dominant. He's a Hall of Famer, and he needs to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He might be a jerk, but steroids, I don't know if Clemens did steroids or not. There was a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know. It's possible, but he's a Hall of Famer, and this is the Baseball Hall of Fame. This isn't the perfect players of baseball. Number 3. I didn't necessarily put the rest of the people in order, but Billy Wagner, Left-handed pitcher, great closer, awesome player. Maybe doesn't get a lot of notoriety with the Mariano Rivera's and the John Smoltz and other closers, but Billy Wagner is a Hall of Famer in my opinion. Curt Schilling. I think this guy was better in the postseason, but he won World Series championships with the Phillies and the Phillies. He went to the World Series with the Phillies, the Boston Red Sox, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he went with the Phillies. Curt Schilling is a gamer, the Bloody Sock game, and he's not, to my knowledge, he never ended up on the Mitchell Report. That's for sure, and he never has been accused of doing steroids. He's just being accused of being a jerk outside of baseball. So he's a Hall of Famer in my opinion. That's the guy that they have character issues with. And I think Curt Schilling will get in this year. He got over 60% of the votes last year, so he's trending up. And then another guy, Andruw Jones, great hitter, excellent fielder, all the sabermetrics, all the defensive stats. Andruw Jones is a Hall of Famer, hands down. Another guy, maybe not the best hitter, but defensively wise, Omar Vizquel, definitely a Hall of Famer. Another guy that a lot of people aren't talking about yet, and I'm kind of surprised by this, because this guy's a really good player. Maybe not as flashy as some players, but I think he's a Hall of Famer. I've seen the guy throw 2 no-hitters. I've seen the guy make crazy defensive plays, and of course I'm talking about the White Sox starting pitcher, Mark Buehrle. Mark Buehrle is a Hall of Famer. He had over 250 wins. I think it was 252 or something like that, or maybe it was 260. Mark Buehrle's a Hall of Famer. Maybe his ERA is a little high, but I think he's one of the game's greats. He wasn't a flashy power pitcher, but the guy pitched and pitched fast too. By the way, games with Mark Buehrle, they didn't last very long because he was pitching pretty fast. So Mark Buehrle, a Hall of Famer. Next one, Todd Helton. Now a lot of people think Scott Rowland. A lot of people think Todd Helton. I only saw Scott Rowland have like 3 or 4 good seasons. Todd Helton had a lot of good seasons. Granted, it was in Coors Field, but you can't penalize a player just because he played in a certain field or ballpark. So, Todd Helton, he's a Hall of Famer for me. Here are my 2 controversial picks because I wanted to pick 10 guys. I didn't want to just leave it at like 8. I'm picking Andy Pettitte and I'm picking Gary Sheffield. I think Andy Pettitte is one of the game's great pitchers. I think he landed on the report. He admitted to doing some sort of steroids, whatever. Andy Pettitte, I think, was a decent pitcher, and he pitched for a long time. So I'm giving it to Andy Pettitte. He's a Hall of Famer. And then Gary Sheffield, he's probably the guy that I'd probably least like to put in the Hall of Fame, on this list at least. But he had over 500 career home runs, and that's kind of the mark for the Hall of Fame, except if you're Barry Bonds. Now, another guy that I'd love to have in the Hall of Fame, but he didn't get in, and he's already passed his years on the ballot, Fred McGriff deserves to be in the Hall of Fame along with Pete Rose. But hopefully someday the Crime Dog will get in. But those are my 10 choices. If I had a Hall of Fame ballot and I could fill it out and send it in, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Billy Wagner, Curt Schilling, Andruw Jones, Omar Vizquel, Mark Buehrle, Todd Helton, Andy Pettitte, Gary Sheffield. Now, if you're a baseball fan and you want to pick guys for the Hall of Fame, and if you had a chance to pick guys for the Hall of Fame, why don't you comment with the guys that you would add in? What are your arguments for or against Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and of course Sheffield and Pettitte? And then the other news I have, the Chicago Cubs made a trade last week. I'm a little late getting around to this because the baseball season has been so boring. The baseball offseason has been so boring that I haven't really wanted to talk about it. And the Cubs traded Yu Darvish away to the San Diego Padres, along with Victor Caratini for I'm blank on the guy's name, Zach Davies, and 4 minor league prospects that weren't in the top 3 or 4 for the San Diego Padres. Well, a lot of Cubs fans are upset, and I kind of am too, but they do get rid of Yu Darvish's salary, which I actually started to like Yu Darvish too. It's unfortunate. The guy was 34 years old. I don't know if our window to win is still there. I mean, we keep bringing back the same group of players, and they can make the playoffs or come really close, but choke in the playoffs. So maybe it's time for a change. As far as the prospects we got back, These guys would have been higher up if they were on any other team. San Diego has a really deep farm system, and they still do because the Cubs didn't ask for anybody. I would have loved to have Mackenzie Gore. But all in all, I mean, I think the trade in a couple of years, we'll look back on it, and I think we'll be more happier. I would have loved to get maybe a little bit more back, like another major league ready player, since we gave up Victor Caratini, who didn't have the best 2020 season, but a lot of guys didn't have a good 2020 season because we only played a couple months, and baseball players need time to get in their groove and stuff like that. But Caratini had a great 2019 season, and we traded him away because he's Yu Darvish's personal catcher, so we'll see what happens. But I'm not happy now, but I think in a couple of years, all these prospects that we got will be top prospects in the Cubs system, like really high prospects, and Cub fans won't regret it. I'm going to miss Yu Darvish, and thank you, Yu Darvish, for being, for changing your ways and being a great player on the Chicago Cubs, and, having bounce back seasons after a questionable start with the Chicago Cubs. So there's the video. Give me your thoughts on the Hall of Fame. Let me know if that baseball writer, should even be allowed to vote anymore. If you're not going to vote, you're going to do something stupid like sell your ballot online, like Dan Levitar did a few years ago. Might have been a lot more than a few years ago. Then you shouldn't be voting for the Hall of Fame. And then, of course, if you're a Cubs fan, give me your thoughts on the Yu Darvish situation. If you're a baseball fan in general and you like what I'm talking about, go ahead and smash that like button if you could. If anybody you know would be interested in hearing this, go ahead and share the video with them. Comment as much as you want, all you want. I'll respond to all comments. And, of course, last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your support, and be a part of something special. And J-Dev will return.